And good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the LOOPcast. Today's episode brought to you by Charity Mobile, the pro-life phone company. Thank you so much to Charity Mobile for sponsoring this episode. And the vibes are high. The gang is back together. It's me, Erica, and Josh.
Woo.
Feels good to be back.
Yeah, this is a great. We have a great team here. I mean, I love our guests. We had some banger guests, as the kids say, but I think that's what they say. But
They say
it's
that.
nice to be together again. Yeah.
What an epiphany to have us all together.
What an epiphany!
Actually, it's kind of fun though. Epiphany, the Eastern, they celebrate, the gift giving on Epiphany, whereas the Western Christians celebrate on the Nativity. And it's also kind of some people that celebrate it with Christmas are starting to understand, hey, we can dial up the Epiphany a little bit, and especially if you buy Chinese goods, because it takes that much longer to arrive. So I got a Christmas gift. It just arrived. I did actually get. This is a Die Hard Hans Gruber Advent calendar, so I'll be able to use it next year. Starts on December 1, and it just keeps going down.
This feels. Is this sacrilegious? This feels.
That is.
It's kind of sacrilegious, but there's a funny little story here though with this. Okay, so it comes in the mail to me, and it says Monica from like Illinois. I'm like, what? And so we have a Monica on staff. I'm like, Monica, did you send me this? She's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, do I have like a LOOPcast fan from Illinois who sent me a Hans Gruber Advent calendar? And so I tell my family about this, and my brother's like, that was the gift I got for you. So apparently the Chinese, in sending this halfway across the world, also got the name screwed up. So thank you, my brother Jake, for...
Because Jake and Monica are so similar that...
I guess so.
Also, I'd like to offer a warm welcome to everyone here in the chat. And first off, I said that I'd do this. We had a lot of snow here today, and people I don't know how it is for everyone in the chat, if you guys got snow or not. People in Indiana legitimately lose their minds over snow. It is crazy. I grew up in Michigan. It's a very normal occurrence to me. Indiana, it's unbelievable. The reaction, it's basically like if Florida got snow. It's crazy. Yeah. And I would like to also give a
Southern
shout
state at heart
to the fellow winter warriors here in the office, Sue and Christina. I would also like to send a shot at the rest of this office. They're Charmin soft. Listen, I came here to this office. We got like a foot of snow, didn't matter. And as I was pumping myself up of being just moved into a new house, which is awesome.
Hey, congrats.
And that also meant I didn't have a shovel, and I had a tiny shovel and it broke. And so I had nothing, and I was spinning out in my driveway, and my faith in humanity was restored because I looked over and a neighbor in the same situation had a shovel. He was like a little bit away. I sprinted after him so he didn't get away because I was like, I need this shovel to get in to record the LOOPcast. Shout out Alejandro. And I said, hey, listen, I'll help you dig out. And then if I could just borrow this, I'll give it right back. Thank you. And he's like, okay, great. So I dug him out. We dug him out first. He goes out. I said, thank you so much. Here's the shovel. I run over. And I you know what? This is a restore faith in humanity moment. I didn't expect him to reciprocate. I just like, okay, great. I got the shovel. Now I can get out myself. So I'm digging out. All of a sudden, the warm hand of Alejandro on my back, taps my back, starts shoveling me out. We get out of there, shake hands, said, hey, my English isn't great. Said, doesn't matter to me. You got a friend for life. Yeah. I'm right over here. If you need anything, Alejandro, let me know, brother. Thank you. We got our way to work. And
that's a great story.
Now I'm here.
That on top of your Lions winning last night, you got to be a cloud nine.
Check out the sweatshirt.
The Carmel office is almost as soft as the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Also, so I'm rocking my Lions gear today, Champions of the North, and I think I might be a vest guy. Sorry,
I got to tell you this.
Vests are like untapped masculine power, I think. I made fun of them for a long time. I'm all in a vest.
Okay, so your Lions kicked my Vikings' butt.
Yep.
And then after that, I get, as that's happening, just disaster of my Vikings just can't get the job done. Then I get the news.
Oh, it got better. Right.
That San Diego Bishop Robert McElroy is going to be appointed
Cardinal, darling.
I don't call him that. Will be appointed to the Archdiocese of Washington. I got so mad. I just started cleaning dishes at like 11:30 at night, and was like, something's wrong. I do dishes a lot, so that's not the. It was the vigor at which I was cleaning. So yes, here we go.
This was a great way to wake up.
Now listen, let's set this up properly. So Cardinal Robert McElroy, he's the former Cardinal of San Diego, now appointed days before inauguration to the Archdiocese of D.C. Now, we are a part of the story, whether or not we like it or not. In this CNN article, I'm going to read a little bit of it. The appointment of McElroy sends a signal about how Pope Francis and the Vatican plan to navigate a second Trump administration and follows Trump's decision to nominate a critic of Francis as his Vatican ambassador.
Oh.
The Pope also is due to have a farewell meeting with President Joe Biden, a devout Catholic, who had a warm rapport with Francis on Friday. Now, secret, this is Brian Birch, president of Catholic Vote, nominated to be the ambassador to the Vatican. So our name's been invoked here. What I'd hope to do with this show, hopefully for you, maybe if you're not familiar with McElroy, Josh has very strong feelings. If you've listened to the show, you're aware of them. Erica, I would like you to provide a very cool, calm, who is McElroy? Why is he controversial? How did we get here?
Yeah, so I covered McElroy extensively in 2023. So we're talking about 18 months ago. He wrote, cool, calm, and collected. I'm collecting myself here. So he is one of the cardinals. He's very into the synod, very into dialoguing. He's very anti any kind of immigration reform. Checks all the boxes. He's very pro LGBT. He wrote sort of almost a manifesto essay for America Magazine in 2023 that, among other things, suggested that there should be no restrictions on reception of the Eucharist. And in particular, he was sort of lashing back at Archbishop Cordeleone when he restricted Nancy Pelosi from receiving the Eucharist for her pro-abortion, very pro-abortion politics. And so he was coming back at it with, it's not in the spirit of dialogue and accompaniment to put any restrictions on anyone for reception of the Eucharist. He also has taken potshots at EWTN, calling them a giant of economic and cultural power that is fundamentally critical of the Pope. So anyone who takes shots at EWTN for being critical of Francis, I mean, come on, guys. So, and he also has lamented publicly and repeatedly that the ordination of women to the priesthood, I'm quoting from him, at this time would deeply divide the church and should not be a goal of the synodal process. Note that he does not actually say it is impossible because God himself instituted the all-male priesthood in the person of Jesus Christ, but he just said it's not politically expedient at this time. Bishop Paprocki of Springfield, Illinois, shout out to him. He wrote a wonderful response, not naming McElroy, but quoting McElroy. And it was titled, "Imagine a Heretical Bishop." And of course, McElroy fires back. So I would say it is not outside the realm of reason to say that McElroy has expressed heretical views in the church. He's presided over the banning of homeschoolers from use of his parish buildings in his diocese. So you can imagine how I feel about this man.
Yeah.
And for him, I'm going to stop there.
Accompaniment for some, not for
all. Collected is getting a little flustered at this point.
Accompaniment for some, but not for all.
Before we get off the cool, calm, collected, another reason he's controversial is he comes from I'm thinking football, but the coaching tree, if you will, from Theodore McCarrick.
Absolutely.
Notorious, maybe one of the worst sex scandal in U.S. history.
Not just a cover-up. McCarrick actually abused people.
Yeah.
Right. And actually, according to the Pillar, it was Archbishop or formal Archbishop. He's an Archbishop still, Wuerl, who was formerly of D.C. before Cardinal Gregory was named over there. Wuerl himself put McElroy forward. Wuerl also being in that sort of trifecta of the Tobin, McCarrick, Wuerl. Gregory.
Night, baby.
Any Catholic who cares about their faith in Washington is crossing the Potomac to go to the church in the Diocese of Arlington. I mean, give me a break. I mean, that's been the case for a long time, but it only makes it worse. I mean, the thing is, again, like so many pro-lifers who are just so concerned about the scourge of abortion and having politicians that support legal abortion at every turn, that want to clear the runway and make abortion accessible and easy everywhere across the country. They want to take taxpayer funding to subsidize it. And Catholics are like, can't we I don't know, excommunicate these people.
Mhm.
And the bishops have been very, very, well, extremely reluctant. And so Corleone didn't actually do much of a restriction. I mean, he basically just said, actually, Nancy Pelosi, you've been supporting abortion for 40 years, and with every law you've done, could you just please not present yourself for communion? Like, that is the
Mhm.
lightest touch.
Very light touch. Only in
And
his
that was
diocese.
too far for Cardinal McElroy now. Well, actually, he was Bishop McElroy, and as soon as he sent that letter out, it took a few months later. All of a sudden, he's a cardinal. So it seemed like that's why people like. Seems like Francis was kind of tipping his hat to McElroy in this fight over Pelosi, and that's what's kind of frustrating about this. It's like, okay,
Deep breath.
it's very frustrating because a lot of people in the Catholic Church who are frustrated over the slaughter of the unborn children left and right, and we're like, we want our bishops and we want our priests to do more, and there are courageous bishops and there are courageous priests that are trying to do more, and I just feel like McElroy sets that back. I might be wrong, but it really seems like, and again, to take his point, to take the theological point, his thought is, well, the Eucharist is wonderful. Why would we want to try to? We shouldn't restrict it. It's Jesus. We should try to provide it everyone. Well, I'm sorry, but the church herself restricts communion.
Right.
It doesn't give it to anyone who walks in the building.
Right.
You have to be a Catholic. You have to have gone through, the rites, the rite of initiation of adults. And again, I guess my question would be like, what if David Duke, the Klansman, what if he converted? He said, "I'm a Catholic now," and he presented himself for communion. Well, if you're like, well, hold on a second, are you going to renounce your decades of racial hatred?
Right.
That was sinful. Are you going to say no to that, or you just, or do we accompany him and just let him be who he is? What about a pornographer?
Mhm.
If Larry Flint said, "Hey, I want to receive communion," would you say yes? What about somebody who operates an abortion facility? We're going to just give them communion? Like, no. The point is, communion has to imply that we are united behind a common shared belief that
Mhm.
this really is Jesus Christ and that we really believe it. And to me, it's like, it's not like, oh, tisk tisk, you're being so stingy. It's about reverence for the Lord. So I just
So,
can't
Josh,
disagree with
Absolutely.
McElroy more.
all great points, and I just want to point out as well, McElroy is not the only cardinal or archbishop that is very liberal, has pushed boundaries. I mean, I think of Supich. We have other examples even here in America. Now, I
Yes.
think what's been interesting when you look at the media coverage where it comes to this, and this came in the Washington
Well, before you
Post.
get to that, real quick, I'll let you
Yeah.
go to that. But the difference would be, yes, Supich is very liberal. Tobin in Newark is very liberal. But when it came to Corleone trying to do his, like dialogue, trying to work with Nancy Pelosi on this
He tried to
issue,
meet
like,
with her multiple
you
times.
are you are an unrepentant sinner. You keep coming back and supporting abortion at every turn, and he's trying to do, like, the assumption that McElroy made is that this cuts away against dialogue. You're assuming that there was no dialogue between the bishop and Pelosi before this? Give me a break. And the whole thing is, we have this kind of collegiality between the bishops. Why wouldn't there be more deference from McElroy to Corleone on how he's dealing with this issue? Why is he automatically assumed that Corleone doesn't know what he's talking about or made a mistake? I just,
Well,
again, the deference for me, but not for you, drives me
right.
crazy.
And I think too, it was right before, well, it was right after Coeur de Leon made his public statement about Pelosi, and right prior to McElroy coming out with this article, that we got a signal from Rome, from Pope Francis himself, that restricting the Eucharist over abortion was going to be looked down upon. It was frowned upon. And so he's a company man. He knows what the signal is from Rome. And I know,
Company
Pogo,
man.
you had a point you wanted to make, but I also just want to point out that McElroy, I think, yes, part of it is the politics and the politicians and the Eucharist, but it's also that, even more fundamentally when it comes to the faith, McElroy is someone who has basically said there are not objectively evil actions. And of course it's certain actions. So the racism example, Josh, was really good, because you could say, well, yeah, they would be the first ones to condemn anything like deporting illegal aliens or racist remarks or actions. But he wrote in that same America essay He objected to the church's teaching that all sexual actions outside of marriage are gravely evil. He said that distinction between orientation and activity cannot be our focus, because the activity itself is not necessarily evil. This is directly against church teaching, and I think that a big reason for his softness on Eucharistic and the idea of barriers to receiving the Eucharist worthily is that he just doesn't believe in sin. He doesn't believe in objectively evil acts, which is to me even more disturbing than
Well,
the political statements he's made.
to the extent that we want to try to evangelize the world, we're being undercut when we have these divisions inside the church. When we don't, it's like, what is going on? Like, get on the same page here. Like, this is the team. Like, we're Catholic. This is the catechism. This is what we believe. And again, it's so frustrating because the greatest change over the last 100 years actually is not the internet. It's still the sexual revolution.
Yes.
And the Catholic Church hasn't the answer for this. And Pope John Paul II illuminated it so well. And the church is just like, I don't know. It's kind of a tough thing. Let's accompany the culture. And the culture, man is going off the rails here. I mean, look what's going on in society today. And it's getting worse. And it's like, that's what's been so frustrating, I guess, when people, what are you so frustrated about with, Pope Francis? I feel like we had Pope John Paul's illuminating talks on the theology of the body to try to understand, like, here's the moment. Here's the answer to the sexual revolution. And you have the pontificates of Pope John Paul II and Benedict XVI to try to bring that to light and to be that beacon and to try to build this reform. And over the last 10 years or so, it's like that reform has just been allowed to wither away. And it's actually very, very sad.
It is.
Yeah. And on a positive note, shout out Carl from the chat. None of these men will cause me to leave my church and my faith. I will pray for their conversion and pray that our next pope to be clear about our faith.
Yes, Carl.
Amen to that, Carl. I think
Amen.
that sentiment is, that's just, it almost feels like subconscious to me. Like all these conversations we have about church politics and the faith and everything, it's like, none of this is shaken. And I'm sure people are feeling that. No, it has not shaken my belief in the one true Catholic Church.
That's good, but it does have an effect. I mean, like my friend Steve Skojic went off the rails and left the faith because of this. I mean, it has an effect. These things do matter.
It does, but to that point, like that's very much my sentiment. I think that's probably the proper sentiment understood. But the point that I was trying to make, because we're in the news business, we look around, things are obviously written about us. Catholic Vote, Brian, our fearless leader. Washington Post, McElroy's strong defense of migrant rights may irritate the incoming Trump administration, and it serves in some ways as a counterpoint to Trump's plan to nominate Brian Birch, president of Catholic Vote and papal critic, as the U.S. ambassador to the Holy See. It's no coincidence, some observers say, that the decision was announced ahead of Trump's inauguration. McElroy's nomination is a very clear message, said Massimo Fagioli, a Catholic theologian at Villanova University. It is a high-profile response to the current political situation in America. There's no denying it. Now, someone internally brought up this point too, and I believe this is true. We're not even – the conversation surrounding this isn't even, he's really going to help the pastoral needs of Washington, D.C. Like his charism really meets what is necessary in D.C. It's that this is a political point. And it's funny that this is even mentioned in the same breath as Brian Birch, which is pretty awesome, just to talk about how much that nomination means, how important that is, or how it scares certain people. It's crazy to, like, this is a cardinal we're talking about, and Brian Birch. Not to say he's not important, but it's pretty awesome. This is a message. And everyone didn't even pretend like this is somehow a pastoral Catholic event.
Right. Caring for the souls in Washington, D.C. This is like political.
Like we're going to send a message right back. And who's to say? I'm not in Pope Francis's head. Trust me, I've tried, and I'm not. We may conjecture on what's going on. I don't know if this is actually true. Who knows? Or what the decision making process was like. But just the fact that it's being interpreted as a message. Well, I think
it's not conservatives that are making those allegations that this is a response to the appointment. It's actually the Catholic left that's admitting it. So, and those would be people that have the Pope's ear. So,
now I will say, note on this, Brian, if confirmed, has said we have a very open approach. like an open approach to dialogue with Cardinal McElroy, with Pope Francis. That's
We're
the
ready
goal.
for
We're here to
dialogue.
work together. We're ready to hit the ground running. We're ready to talk. We're ready to move the ball forward. And I think that's probably the proper message here, right?
Well, and again, it's just whether or not this dialogue is really two ways or not. That's ultimately what I want. Like dialogue, accompaniment, and then homeschoolers or pro-lifers or, like, oh, well, that's not what we meant, Oh, I thought I was still part of this church. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'm ready. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about all of the rape victims and the child trafficking victims as a result of the Biden administration's policy with immigration. Let's dialogue about that. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
wait,
Here.
but CNN said he was a devout Catholic.
Oh, Biden? Yeah, that's CNN's line for. I love that it's like Brian Birch, papal critic,
Yeah, right.
Joe Biden, devout Catholic, in the
Well,
same
and the
sentence.
devout Catholic Joe Biden decided to, we say that sarcastically, of course, for anyone listening,
Dripping, yeah.
but he gave an award to a woman who was protesting at the, years ago was arrested for protesting at the Vatican embassy. Like, yeah, way to go. She's such a supporter of abortion rights. She won't, quote unquote rights, such a supporter of abortion that she gets arrested at the Vatican embassy. But, super devout Catholic Joe Biden decides to give her an award. So
certification
Gave a lot of people awards this weekend.
cannot come soon enough. Oh, do you want to get into some of those awards? We
Oh,
had
man.
the latest Presidential Medal of Freedom awards.
Oh, those were great.
So
yeah.
some people know Bill Nye as the science guy. Bill Nye is now known as Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient. So we had Bill Nye, George
The
Soros,
anti-science guy, George Soros.
Hillary Clinton, the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine, Anna Wintour.
We assume. I just want to point out that
And Bono.
Bono. I know Bono there with his humanitarian effort, but
and
the
Denzel Washington.
and Denzel Washington.
Oh, Denzel.
I mean,
Actually,
what's
kind of
going
probably
on?
could maybe even almost
Actor.
be justified.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
If,
But Anna Wintour, I just want to point out, for those of you who don't know, Anna Wintour, she received the award for what I assume was her featuring of Jill Biden twice on the cover of Vogue in the last 4 years. So that was clearly a service to humanity. That's a hashtag.
I mean, again, if you're Vogue and you want, it's common to put the First Lady of the United States on the cover of Vogue. I mean, that's kind of what you do.
Yeah,
and so they
but
did it for Michelle Obama. They did it for Jill Biden, but not like Melania Trump.
supermodel.
I mean, okay, sure.
Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
But
got an award.
if it were not, I was very disappointed when Bono supported abortion in Ireland. That was
Very
extremely
disappointing.
frustrating. Had he not done that, he would actually be worthy of an award for all that he did for fighting AIDS in Africa and trying to give them. And actually, it was funny that he was asked about like what can you do to improve the poverty in Africa, and he's like, actually, crazy enough, it's commerce. It's actually capitalism. That's what they need. And I was like, whoa, like here's a celebrity quote idiot that's like kind of getting a little sunrise and realizing that these people need private property rights and stuff like that. So I mean, for what he did in Africa, I would actually kind of understand that, but I wouldn't give it to him after his pro-abortion activism. So
Can I? And another thing I will genuinely miss about Joe Biden is all of the gaffes. Like one of my favorite moments from this was he sang happy birthday to someone and honestly super relatable, forgot his name. So he went through the whole happy birthday, dear. Happy birthday.
that is certainly
That's
the most
relatable,
relatable.
honestly. I'll give him that one. But
He also declared, did you see, he also declared that the Cold War is over.
it is, to be fair.
It is.
To be
but-
fair, it is over. So again,
30
point
years.
Joe Biden.
Forgetting names, though, I'm terrible about that.
So the legacy is about to be over. We're going in. We have certification. We have, we're on that hallowed day, January 6th. So apparently there's like a winter vortex at the Capitol, and people need to make it in. So Josh, government nerd, we need to reach quorum, right? Is there a situation in which people just don't show up to work and then we can't certify the
Well, I mean, so after the January 6th Capitol Hill riot back in 2021, Congress went through and made changes, the Electoral College Count Act or whatever it is. And so the count has to start at 1:00 today. So
hour and a half.
and if you don't have a quorum, that's going to be bad news. So
Uh-oh.
Oh, Maybe there's a winter vortex in Petoskey.
Vortex knocked out his Wi-Fi.
Yikes. Oh, man.
In the meantime, am I
In the
seeing?
meantime.
Oh no, Josh.
Oh, we really lost Josh.
In the
Right in
meantime,
time.
this is what we're dealing with in DC. I think this is
Oh,
legit.
yeah.
Someone sent it to me.
Yep, this is legit. Check it out.
All right, you ready?
Yep, when you're ready.
Okay. Since the January 6th attack on the US Capitol, when supporters of Donald Trump stormed this building, trying to prevent the election victory of Joe Biden from being certified. On the anniversary. Oh my God. Oh God, Sam. Oh.
Now that
Exactly.
talk about like
So that where I live, we get tons of snow.
Divine retribution there.
for the audio listeners, this is a reporter just getting absolutely whitewashed as trying to talk
By
about
the snow, yeah.
the Capitol.
So, sorry, I don't know what happened to the internet connection there for a second, but one of the things that, in order to make sure that they would have a quorum necessary to be able to conduct the business so that they could certify the election and get Trump, official so that he could be sworn in on the 20th, the House Republicans, because they just convened Congress, the new Congress, on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so they decided to, rather than everyone go back to their districts, they said, no, we're going to have retreats over the weekend so that we're here on time on Monday, and we're not going to get snowed out at airport and be a few people short, because the Democrats could do a thing where they're like, well, let's just not be here. And if they don't have a quorum, they could do some funny business here. The Republicans stayed in D.C. over the weekend, most of them, I think. So they should have a quorum, and then they can count the ballots. And, who gets to administer all this, of course? The current Vice President of the United States.
Yes.
Kamala Harris gets to oversee the election results in which she was the defeated, much in the same way that Al Gore did this back in 2001.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I mean, there's a little bit of like evil satisfaction in my heart, I have to say.
Well, and I mean, it's funny too, because she swore in because she's the president of the Senate as the as the current vice president. And so she got to swear in the new senators. I could actually we could roll this now. I put it in my Twilight Zone, but so as a part of her solemn duty before she swore him in, they did the Pledge of Allegiance. Did you see this?
Oh my gosh,
I saw this.
did.
Tough.
Can we roll the tape here?
This is worse than forgetting someone's name when you're saying
This
happy
is
birthday.
so
Kind of.
brand for her.
Join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
No.
If you didn't catch that, she was about to pledge allegiance to the United States rather than the flag.
Oh
of
my
the United States.
goodness.
I mean, hey,
Listen, my only excuse maybe I'd give her is when you're really hungry and you have to pray the meal prayer and you're just so hungry
you
you can't
start the
think
Our
straight.
Father or something.
Yeah, and you say the Hail Mary, Our Father or something like.
Yeah,
been
yeah.
there before, dude. So
Maybe she was really hungry.
maybe she grew up in Canada and didn't, do the Pledge of Allegiance there. So
Could
because
be
she was
that.
raised in Vancouver or whatever it
Oh
was.
my gosh.
Very-
Unbelievable.
Of course, kids nowadays don't hear the Pledge of Allegiance in school anymore. They got rid of that.
Yeah.
And some
Maybe,
people are.
maybe we should bring it back.
Some people, I've actually seen some people on the right say that they don't even like the Pledge of Allegiance. That it
Yeah,
shouldn't be
I
said.
have mom friends who won't teach it to their kids because they say it's part of the attempt to assimilate people into the United States. And I'm like, guys, well, like you move here, you probably should assimilate a little bit.
That's a
I
dumb
think it's
reason.
anti-Catholic. There's an argument that it was an anti-Catholic move in the public schools.
Pledging allegiance to a flag,
Yeah.
patriotism. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's mark me down as that's a good thing. The problem in this country, actually, I would say in much of the West, is anti-patriotism. And I understand that the right, criticism from the Catholic right on this, but no, I think the problem right now, we need a resurgence of proper patriotism in this country.
Yeah. Read the signs of the times, guys.
I think it's coming. I mean, isn't the big event for the Trump administration going to be the anniversary
Yeah.
party? They're just going to
250th party, baby.
It's going to be like a 16-month party.
What's it going to be? Yeah, do you know anything?
Yeah,
on
so
that?
it starts Memorial Day, the official observances starts
Of
Memorial
25,
Day
yeah,
of
this year.
25, so this year, and it's going to go all the way to the Iowa State Fair of 2026. So we're we're looking at good 16 months of celebrations of the 250th anniversary of our great nation. So I'm excited. Catholic Vote's we have some plotting that we've been doing, so stay tuned. Excited.
What gets more American than the Iowa State Fair, man?
I know, middle of the
We should
country.
go.
I love that.
We should go. Loopcast. Do a
Loopcast will
vlog.
be there.
Can we go?
Oh, yo, that'd be sick.
Man on the street. I'm gonna have some deep fried Coke or something. Coca-Cola, not the drug.
Let's just get Erica to go eat all the most deep fried.
I'm so excited. Deep fried. We have deep fried sticks of butter at the Big E here.
Oh
in
my
England.
gosh,
It's
How about
kind of
like
insane.
Oreos, deep fat?
Yeah,
fried?
deep fried Oreos.
Fried
That's
Oreos are gas.
delicious.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Great, so American.
All right. So before we do Twilight Zone, I just had a few things. This is a little bit of a risk, but I was gone. I was moving, as some of you may know, and I'm now back. I've slightly seen some things, partial coverage of certain things. So one thing that we were talking about before the show, just in general, and maybe this would be a good update. It feels like there's been a uptick in like domestic violence events leading to this transfer of power. Now, two things come to mind. One, I'm not sure how historically accurate this trend is of this kind of uptick before transfer of power. It feels like the adults are kind of getting back in charge in some ways. But I know we covered New Orleans a little bit, and there's more coming about the ISIS stuff. Have you guys seen anything on the Las Vegas stuff?
Well, the transfer of power thing, I'm not sure I'm tracking you because, after the 2016 elections, there was a lot more violence against, because of what Trump was going, the riots in D.C. and that kind of stuff. So there's less of that this time. The violence that happened in New Orleans, I think, is more of radical Islamicist stuff rather than any necessarily with regards to Trump. I think that if Trump had lost, that's probably would have still happened, is my point. So I don't think it's got the transfer power stuff. And then what was the stuff in Vegas again? Help me out.
Here's what I understand about
Vegas. The bomb of
the
Tesla that was exploded outside the Trump Tower. That was a little bit obviously on the nose.
Yes,
it was very on the nose.
So the guy in there, a former military guy, he emailed the Sean Ryan show an email that the FBI has now confirmed is likely legitimate, saying that these drones are like some gravitational something weapons that only the United States and China have, and that he was willing to come on the show to talk about it, but he couldn't talk past a certain date because he's like, I have something to do. So, and now there's thoughts, was he actually the one that set it off? Did someone else set it off? Was he ever intending any of this? I don't know. It's all super confusing.
Oh, because he was going to blow some whistle on our drones or something.
Right.
Well, that is interesting because his uncle said he's a big Trumper, so it doesn't make sense that he would have killed himself.
Right.
And
now Sean Ryan's taken his family into hiding, apparently. So all very interesting. On the newest development on the drone stuff is,
oh my gosh,
a novel weapon we have nothing to do about. Yeah. So I don't know if there's, I don't know how deep we go into that. I just want someone to sit down and be like, because I feel like new stuff happens every hour, like a new element.
Well, just Justin Trudeau is going to resign from being Prime Minister of Canada.
Breaking
news just keeps coming at us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Breaking news
turning over a new maple leaf.
So he can't. So he will not be the governor of the 51st state.
Unfortunately, poor Justin. He was not excited about that, so he just resigned.
I saw this being
news.
writing on the wall,
Crazy.
Because he was never going to get reelected.
No, it was not. Right.
Yeah.
The only question was, would he last until October? And it's not.
No, he's stepping down to avoid a loss and hopefully to rebuild labor so that labor has a
shot. He's not given the choice. People inside his party are shoving him out the door so that they can get a new leader in that hopefully try to. But I don't understand that. I kind of feel, their thought is if we get someone else on there, maybe they won't lose as badly.
Right. They're still going to lose. This is another case of like Joe Biden, except much younger. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. He's presided over just the destruction of Canada's culture, what culture there was in Canada. Sorry, anyone Canadian listening. It's all beavers and logging and maple
hockey.
Syrup. And they have Tim Hortons too. We've talked about Tim Hortons on the show before.
They have good contributions.
They have phenomenal comedians,
Comedy.
And the comedians comedians too, but Justin Trudeau has just overseen the destruction of Canadian culture, most prominently through MAID, the Medical Assistance in Dying program, just being shoved down throats, the trans stuff, and of course the economic disaster that his budgets have been. And we think of the truckers, right? The trucker movement in Canada, and just how his government shut them down, put them in jail, horrible things. And so, good farewell, Justin Trudeau. Go back to Cuba
Yeah.
and stay there.
So is the path now? Is the path now Pierre Poilievre?
He's
Well, no, I mean, so what happens is that the what party is he in? The Trudeau, the Democrat, whatever they call it, the Liberal Party, and the NDP. They still have the coalition government, and so they pick a new leader of their party unless they call snap elections, because they're going to have elections in October anyway. So this doesn't mean Pierre becomes the new prime minister.
Well, right. I was just saying, do you think he's most likely?
Oh, I think Pierre is going to be the prime minister in October. Yes, absolutely. You're
welcome, Canada. Before we get into the Twilight Zone here,
but it could come sooner if they feel like they need to call snap elections. They don't. They know they're going to lose, and so their incentive is to try to hope that they can recover their position by October. But
yeah. Just before we get into the Twilight Zone, did you guys cover like New Year's resolution type stuff on the show with Peter?
We did not. We made no commitments. We made lots of predictions. We did not make any commitments for ourselves.
Josh, I have a personal suggestion for you.
Oh.
Have you heard about Veganuary?
What is this?
Apparently, there's a movement starting where people go vegan for the month of January.
Oh.
Say dry January, but instead of alcohol, for anything animal related. Would you consider?
No.
Okay.
No.
There's
a funny tweet though from like Jimmy Seafood. Like they put, "Hey, we got vegan options," and someone goes, "That's not vegan if it's got feta cheese," and they're like, "Yeah, we don't care." Which I thought was so hilarious. But the thing is, I mean, I'm telling you this: I would give up dessert for the rest of my life before I give up meat.
Amen to that.
I would never give up meat unless and I mean this. If Jesus Christ himself in the flesh came to me and said, "Joshua, please, I'm asking you to give up meat," and I'd be like, "Are you sure? Is there any once a week, maybe Sunday?" I mean, I would totally bargain with him because, hey, you know what? I mean, didn't Lot bargain with God? So I figure I can too.
It's true. Erica, do you have any? Are you like a New Year's resolution?
But I do have a resolution. Exercise and get the rosary in every day. Let's go. So.
Oh, nice. Daily rosary. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of missed New Year's this year. So we've basically had the flu, the stomach bug, and COVID since Thanksgiving.
Nice.
I'm still digging out. I have children downstairs, like having fevers on the couch right now. So New Year's came and went, and I was like, I just want to get through the next hour or so. And so I think Todd and I, every year we'll have like our big resolution is don't be stupid. So we just renewed that.
That's
and
solid.
kept it simple. And
are you gonna ever keep that resolution?
No, we've never successfully done it. So we'll try again. No, it's not very exciting. I wish I had something. I did toy with the idea of trying to finish reading all of Shakespeare's plays that I haven't read yet. But then I looked at how many are left for me, and I'm like, no, not this year. I was gifted for Christmas Shelby Foote's entire The Civil War trilogy in a beautiful box set. And so I am 120 pages in, and I do intend to finish that this year. I am very excited. For those of you who don't know,
tell me something now. Do you read it in his voice?
I do. So it's slow going, but
let's hit the chat real quick. We got people here live, obviously. Any good New Year's resolutions?
Yeah,
can be Catholic, can be not Catholic, can be physical, can be not physical, anything. Just I need ideas because, like, similar to Erica, it was a total whirlwind. I think if anything for me, it's going to be like I wear vests now. Obviously,
you're resolving to wear vests more often.
Style.
I wear vests now, and I got tools from my dad for Christmas because again, we moved into this house. Yeah. So I need to become like a tool guy.
Well, dude, I mean, it's baby year for you, right? You're gonna like baby year is a different kind of animal altogether.
It is. So I want to make a nice home. Like we now have the space. I lived in the equivalent of a bunker for the last couple of years, and it was a flat.
I'm so happy for you.
We got a lot of natural light now, which is great, and I want to make my wife happy. So we got to scour Facebook Marketplace. I want to use my tools. I want to build stuff. I want to use my hands. So
Well, Saint Joseph year. You want to be a carpenter?
If you guys want some gas in terms of prayer recommendations, pray to Saint Joseph the Worker every morning. You will not regret it. Any male, female, doesn't matter. But especially for my boys out there, Saint Joseph the Worker prayer before you start work works like magic. So yeah, hit the and yeah, here we go. I knew this was coming in the chat. Great New Year's resolution. Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that New Year's resolutions are stupid, and kind of true. But then someone also brought up this year in a rosary in a year, a Bible in a year. Mm-hmm. We're missing out on this gold mine. Can we do like loopcast in a year? Can we do year in a year? Like
year in a year.
It's like anytime someone does it, it shoots to first in the charts. We need year in a year or something. What can we do in a year, Josh?
Well, we have the American Catholic Daily Reader in a year.
Oh, that's every day. You can read
Get the book. Go to CatholicVote.org.
Yeah, then you can compete with Josh on trivia games. It's really great. Mm-hmm. It's a good time. We could do year in a year.
Learn about great American patriots that are Catholic. Yeah, in a year.
Yep. Check out the CV store. Get your own copy.
Dude, shout out.
You didn't think I'd have something for you there, Tommy, did you?
No, I knew you'd have something, Josh. You're never short on words. Kiddo number 6 coming this year. Don't gain the sympathy weight this time for me.
Oh, is that a dad? That's a dad.
That's a dad.
Yep.
That's a dad speaking for sure. Although partially not your fault, because when a woman gets pregnant, they kind of shoot you with some what do you call it, and then you start gaining weight. It's like
pheromones or whatever.
Pheromones or whatever. That's nature, buddy.
Wait, we shoot you pheromones?
Yeah, like I thought that was a thing, and that's why the dad bod exists, because when women get pregnant, they hit their
pheromones.
I like that you think it's the aroma rather than just the fact that she's making a ton of food, and you're like, oh, don't want it to go to waste.
Dude, so true.
My wife, when we're on the 6th one, I could not have a freezer without triple peanut butter cup ice cream. I had every day. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, wow.
I gotta eat with her.
It really is.
It's togetherness. Yeah.
Well, for you, hon, I mean, I feel so terrible. I'll sympathy eat. Sure.
All right.
That's why I'm doing the elliptical bike every day.
Oh boy, Josh. All right, I say we slide Twilight Zone now. Josh, you already did.
I did first part, but the second part here. This is actually a crazy story out of the New York Times. And as they're reporting on this, they're just hedging everything about it. But there's now conclusive evidence that environmental scientists have been willing to use the Endangered Species Act to knowingly invent, quote, conservation species. And then after the passage of the bill, use the regulatory agencies to regulate stuff. So there was the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a part of the government, was trying to build this dam in 1967. Well, environmentalists, lawyers, farmers, everyone were like, facing these floods. They want to get this, the lawyers and the activists wanted to stop this dam. And so they stumbled upon a solution. The zoologist at the University of Tennessee went snorkeling with students, and he found this little thing they called a snail darter. And they're like, hey, now we got this new species that we've discovered, and we can't have a dam now. And so they put the brakes on it. They fought all the way to it went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court sided with, these lawyers and activists. And it took Congress to pass a law to say we're still going to build the dam anyway, because it was absolutely vital for the region. And the whole point of this, what this story was getting at, was, in fact, they're able to, with DNA now, they can check and say this snail darter is not a unique actual creature. In fact, it's just the same thing as this other darter over here that's found in all these other places. It's not unique. It's not endangered at all. And it should have never stopped this dam from getting started with. Well, okay, so that's all fascinating information. That's like amazing, right? But the way the New York Times even framed this story, they said mistakenly classified as endangered species. It wasn't a mistake. The scientists lied. They were like squinting, like, well, it looks like it might be unique. And then, so this one scientist is blowing the whistle on this. Dr. Near's like, hey, this is kind of junk science. We got to actually make sure we're doing the right thing. And another scientist is attacking him because he's like, whether he intends it or not, lumping is a great way to cut back on the Endangered Species Act. His concern is that, these scientists are like, if we try to narrowly define these into unique individual species, then we can, use the Endangered Species Act to stop all this stuff. And it's like, wait a minute, you mean you want to lie and you're upset that this guy's calling you out for lying? It's just amazing. And so this kind of stuff matters because livelihoods matter. I mean, this is one of those things that'll date you, but in the 90s, the talk of the spotted owl, all these kind of fights, we can't do it. You can't cut these trees down the spot. Well, was that actually an endangered species or not? Like, we have to go back now and look and see whether or not this was all just a farce on all this stuff, and it's like, oh, you don't like trees? Oh, you want, and then they pull out the Sarah McLachlan sappy music, like, will you remember me? We'll never see this again. You're like, you know what? Maybe the snail darter could have been never come back again. Big whoop. But again, it wasn't even endangered. And it's found in all these other places. So it's almost like they're lying.
So just for clarity, these people made up an endangered species that wasn't endangered so that they could get a dam built.
So they could try to stop the dam from being built.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they kept fighting it or whatever, and I went all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court sided with whatever the agency, it was the EPA or whatever the heck it was, and then took an act of Congress to say, yeah, we know there's an endangered species here, but we still want this dam built anyway. It took an act of Congress to get this dam built.
What a good use of our time. Oh my goodness. Well, we talk all the time on the pod too about the breakdown in trust in our institutions and how detrimental that is for civic society. In this stories like this, like you said, Josh, it puts into question everything that we get out of government funded science. And you're just, it makes me so angry that they just continue to erode the trust in institutions in order to further this like ideological, we can't build dams or something. And it hurts people. At
the time this went down, I mean, this is kind of an interesting, but this was humongous news in the late 70s.
Right.
Congressman John Duncan Sr. described the snail darter as a worthless, unsightly, minute, inedible minnow. And then Senator Baker, this 2-inch fish, which surely kept the lowest profile of all God's creatures until a few years ago, has been the bane of my existence and the nemesis of what I have fondly hoped would be my golden years.
That's poetry.
That's beautiful. And you said it in a Shelby Foote voice too. So
I try my best.
Erica.
That was great. All right. Well, we covered last week the Emily Wilson translation of the Odyssey. So continuing on my ancient texts kick, we have this from The Nation. Why is the right obsessed with epic poetry? This essay was such a load of crack. So the subtitle, or the tag is, from Elon Musk to Jordan Peterson, a certain strand of conservatism has recruited the poetry of Homer and Dante in their culture war. And so this goes through sightings and references to, say, Homer, mostly to Homer. Also, we have a little Virgil, a little bit of Dante, a lot of Milton, actually, with Paradise Lost. And they're talking about figures like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Jordan Peterson, Trump, and Usha Vance makes an appearance because she was seen carrying a copy of the Odyssey. And even Usha Vance, and even Mark Zuckerberg. But here, this is just a little sampling from the way our friends at The Nation are interpreting the constant quoting. They write, epics have often shored up empires. After Virgil's death, Augustus Caesar ordered his unfinished poem be preserved against the poet's wishes. Since then, many poets have recycled Homer's and Virgil's materials to create new epics written to advance their own ambitious nations. And later, emperors used ancient epics to glamorize their campaigns. Epics don't only glorify the present, they also offer grand and terrible visions of the future. In 1968, British politician Enoch Powell quoted the Aeneid in a notorious speech prophesying that immigration would cause, quote, rivers of blood. This capacity to speak to the future makes the genre a powerful political tool. And of course, the entire essay only looks at these epics that have stood the test of time, that are the foundation of Western civilization, as these political tools that have been used through the ages and are now being weaponized by the right to, of course, do many evil things and to prop up Trump's government. And it was so sad to read this. There was no sense that possibly these epics might also just be beautiful in and of themselves and say something true about human nature and have something to say to us. There was no sense of that at all. It was just, again, the weaponization of it, much like Emily Wilson's take on the Odyssey. So I just thought this was, once again, very sad.
I don't know, Erica. What do you think? Maybe we need like a clearinghouse website. What is right wing now?
Yeah.
It's just like
Working
Virgil.
weightlifting, reading Virgil.
Praying the
Like-
rosary.
Praying the rosary, eating eggs every breakfast. Like, wait, what?
Butter.
We should make that note to the social media team. Things that are right wing now, we got to add epic poetry, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
You know what's funny, Erica? And you just answered my question that I had to my mind, but it almost feels like at this point, and again, this much maligned public school system, talk about it often. We almost have to make the case now why Homer or Virgil are important or are worthy of reading and understanding and spending time with, because most people do not. I will say a majority of people in America probably do not. And to your point that it takes you beyond the current context of where we are now into something that should reveal a deeper truth about all of us, what connects us through all generations, and maybe what the institutions of the West were built upon were these type of stories. And so for people that are like, this is old, why do you read it? I think almost everyone kind of has a sense that we probably should, but it's almost like I need to go back to college. Like I don't have the time to sit and study, or maybe I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's good. I need someone to like guide me through it a little bit. So do you have any resources for that?
I do. I actually just came across this amazing podcast. It's called Ascend, like Ascend the Mountaintop or something. So just look up Ascend, and it's two guys. One of them's a deacon, and they are going to walk you through. This would be a great New Year's resolution, actually. They walk you through. They have one episode on each chapter of the Iliad and one on the Odyssey, and they're just gonna keep going through the Western canon. And I listened to the first. The introductory podcast yesterday, actually, because I'm thinking I'm going to have my son read it, and it was great. They were so refreshing, and they lay out that argument in the first. Why are we reading Homer? And they go through each of the books. There's 24 books in the Iliad, 24 books in the Odyssey, and they just walk you. They make it really readable and doable. So I'd highly recommend that. They do not use the Emily Wilson translation. Just put that out there. They use Fagles. So that would be a great place to start. Also, the Hillsdale free online courses, I'll plug those again. They should start paying me,
I was gonna say,
Hillsdale, because they're just that good. I'm happy to give them a free. If you want to read Milton, they have a great Paradise Lost lecture there. So
personal
they also
favorite
have one
mine,
on ancient
Beowulf.
Christianity too, by the way.
Ancient Christianity, so good with Hillsdale. So
That's my friend Ken Calvert. He was my professor 25 plus years ago, and he converted to Catholicism. So.
Personal favorite of mine, Beowulf. Read Beowulf when I was in high
Yes.
school. Never looked back. Wanted to be a knight so bad. Just freaking get fired
Great.
up, boys.
It's a Christmas story too. Got the feasting in the hall during Christmas time.
It made me want to. I had a friend in college actually attempt to make mead. I would not recommend it. It was
I believe it.
Worst. Do not do this. Don't do it in college, especially, and don't do it with plastic jugs, because I had to clean out said dorm after this, and the smell was like nothing I can ever. Do not try to make mead. He knows who he is and he listens to the program. I love him to death. Big medieval guy. Do not make mead in a dorm room.
He went medieval on your room.
Hey, medieval, get it? Dad joke. That was a great dad joke.
Okay, so I have my Twilight Zone here. So,
Oh no.
So many have heard me speak of one of my personal favorite for entertainment value purposes, journalist Taylor Lorenz. recently in the news for.
You just say her name and we crack up.
It's
Okay.
she's the gift that keeps on giving. So recently wishing death upon CEOs everywhere, getting fired from, I think Buzzsprout recently, but fired from Wall Street Journal for saying Biden's a war criminal in the White House while she was
Washington
wearing
Post.
Washington Post.
Washington Post. Yeah. While wearing a N95 mask still in the year of our Lord 2024. So some of you may have seen, but it appears as though Enron is back. When's the last time you guys have thought about the company Enron?
98, maybe.
Yeah, maybe like 2000.
So Enron is back. And for those that don't know what Enron is, they are responsible for the largest scale scam of unprecedented at the time, and received one of the biggest bailouts from the U.S. government up to that point. And so they came back, and they have a new CEO, this guy.
Whoa.
And
It's like a young Zuckerberg.
yeah, they're trying to
Early
rehabilitate.
top.
They're trying to rehabilitate their image. However, before I show you this, this is a setup. This is not actually the CEO. This is a parody account.
Oh, no.
But he nabbed an interview with high-profile journalist Taylor Lorenz.
Yes.
And so she does a serious interview with this guy who she thinks is the CEO of Enron, which doesn't exist. This is all a parody account.
For years. How do you regain public trust?
I would define people, if by people you mean the 15 that went to prison. I would say there were 30,000 amazing people that worked at Enron that had nothing to do with the fraud and the scam and the scandal. And so I'm not a math guy, but 15 out of 30,000 is a pretty small number.
I mean, I'm so glad that you feel this sort of like level of love for the former employees and company. I feel like for most Americans, they don't have that positive connotation with the company. It did so much harm and it destroyed so many lives.
If you want to talk about lives that were destroyed, let's look at the 2008 housing crisis.
Okay.
Millions of lives destroyed, and only a few people went to jail. More people went to jail for Enron than for the literal destruction of the U.S. and worldwide housing economy. And so I think that there's a double standard here that we're trying to shine a light on that says, hey, do as I say, not as I do.
You know, throughout this interview, you've been so optimistic. And I'm kind of wondering, how do you square that optimism with the very real harm that Enron has done?
The rhetoric of the word harm and just in general,
But it has done.
manipulative.
But we have to talk about the harm, the bad stuff that Enron has done in the past.
No, we don't need to talk about the harm. No, we don't. Who said that we need to talk about the harm?
I'm
I
saying,
would back up for a second and I would think, what is Enron? So Enron is not just a company, it's not just people, it's the look that your child gives you when they come down the stairs and see the Christmas tree in the morning.
That's what Enron is?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That was. Can we hire him? Can we hire him, Josh? Please. As a Catholic? That was beautiful.
How he was able to keep that with a straight face. My goodness.
So Enron
What
is
is
actually the
Enron?
feeling when your Christmas walk down.
The look your child gives you.
And then they tweeted out today we take back this country on January 6th.
That is awesome.
This is very clearly now a parody account. And they also had something where they set up him getting pied
Oh my gosh.
because he's Enron's new CEO. This guy's a comedian. I don't know. And then we have
He's awesome.
a graphic, new CEO. I'm happiest when I'm using power for good. CEO Enron. Unbelievable.
This made me so happy, Pogo.
You're welcome.
My whole week just got off to a much better start. This was great.
Yeah. So congratulations to the new CEO of Enron and he's trying his best to rehabilitate the image in 2024. But
Oh my gosh. We need to do like a mashup
tough.
of like 10 greatest Twilight Zones ever, and that would be number one for me. This was my favorite.
oh
That's
man, hey, he's a good looking guy. I'm sure he'll do well. It's tough on Taylor, but all right, guys, fun episode back. We got a week full of news, but if you want to help us out, join the Champions Club. CatholicVote.org/champions is the best way to support the show. Thank you so much to everyone who's currently in the Champions Club. If you want to email me, loopcast@CatholicVote.org. I'm a little bit behind in emails. I apologize. I'm going to get to all of them. Reviews, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, help us out a ton. And pray for us. St. Thomas More, Our Lady of Guadalupe, St. Fidelis, pray for us. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Locked and loaded, ready to go.